Sonic Universe issue 47. We start out with a prologue at the Oil Ocean refinery where we see some tanks of the Barons attacking Jack until Mighty throws the tank and calls Jack boss, saying that he's just doing stuff while he looks for answers, with Jack implying that Mighty's been helping out for some time. Meanwhile, under Lord Hood's castle, Vector says that they'll split up. Then there's a forced meme because Vector says we'll find the computer room. Battle says that his own team will head to the dungeons. They get inconvenienced by some oil, and Vector tries to lift up or break some bars. Charmy then squeezes between the bars, taking advantage of his small size, and uses a switch to get rid of the bars behind Espio and Vector. Charmy says that he'll see if there's another switch, but Espio says there's no point because Lord Hood's forces meant to trap them here. He wants to take the warp ring back, but Friar says that they can't waste his opportunity. Espio wonders why an enemy that can monitor their movements is springing a cage trap instead of a death trap. Espio asks Bo if he's capable of imagining the dungeons accurately. Bo says yes because that's where his king and mentor freed him. Espio decides to give him the warp ring as a result since he can visualize the dungeons with it accurately. He tells Bo to take his team and begin preparing the prisoners for escape. After Vector insults Espio's planning skills because he ran off to join the Iron Queen at one point, and we don't even see Espio looking ashamed or embarrassed after that. Espio distracts some legionaries by moving a sewer grate while invincible, and one of them complains that the last thing his lousy job needs is ghosts, acknowledging that his job as a grunt is lousy. Espio and Vector attack the scared goons, and we see Bo's team with the prisoners. Friar says that their king, his family, and the Chaotix, his friends, aren't among them. Lord Hood gets told about the warp ring thanks to the internet, and we see Charmy having taken care of some badniks while Espio tries to access the internet, telling his friends to seal the doors to the computer room. Sealing is impossible as all they're able to do is bite the goons. Espio sees a password screen and wishes that he had Nicole with him to hack in. Somehow Espio sends some sort of white spiderweb substance at a goon running up to him from his hand. How does that make sense? Does he have that kind of magical power in his glove? Where'd that come from? That was a Deus Ex Machina. Fortunately, Espio finds out that the password is password, and lampshades their stupidity. At least I can understand and forgive this convenience because tons of people, including myself, hate passwords and don't want to bother using one that's not easy to remember, even if it's not literally password. So I can totally buy someone using that as a password out of stubbornness. Then he calls out that Vector and Charmy are needed elsewhere. Lord Hood brags to a captured Bo, calling Robin a coward. Bo says that not even Eggman would target the king's son as he did. Yeah, right. I guess he's not used to dealing with Eggman to have such faith in him being a better person than him. He's allowed to take a shot because he had missed him a bunch of times, and when he fires a dynamite arrow at the wall, it blows up on Lord Hood. Hopefully that killed him. I love that we have all sorts of different arrows, especially dynamite arrows. It's very creative, and it makes the normally archaic technology actually look useful. Bo tells a friend of his to lead the escape as his friends go through a warp ring, and he says that they'll cover him. A goon grabs the warp ring just like that from behind and throws a warp ring at Lord Hood. Well, that was easy. Fortunately, it's not so easy, as one of the heroes catches the warp ring. One of them sings to lighten the mood. Fortunately, that lightening the mood is explained as why he's doing it, before using his guitar as a weapon. Would that mean his guitar would eventually break? Bo says that they should go back through the sewers, but unfortunately Lord Hood survived being exploded on perfectly fine and got up, sending some waves around and intimidating the heroes. He complains about how for 2 generations of kings he tried to be a conqueror, but was always ignored and passed up. After he insults Bo, after that pathetic attempt at a fruiting excuse, Vector punched him in the back of the head, being a surprise attacker just like the goon was. Vector tells everyone to head for the outer wall, and when Bo says that they'd be completely vulnerable going through the main courtyard, Vector says that Espio said he had a plan. Espio finds out that Mighty Sister was sent to Sandblast City, so predictably, that Armadillo Girl in the Dark Legion was in fact Mighty Sister and wasn't just some random Armadillo Girl. And lucky for Espio, this is the only Armadillo Girl he finds info on the entire universe. So he doesn't find info on some other Armadillo Girl and assume that she's Mighty Sister, even though she's a different color from them. Why was Mighty Sister sent all the way from Mercia to Sandblast City? Wouldn't it be easier for Eggman to just keep everybody in the same places? Espio then realizes that it showed files for access from his terminal recently, proving that Mighty was here already and they're on his trail. Espio thinks to himself that research on the missing Mercian King is complete. Really? He didn't mention anything about that. He thinks that fake orders have been sent and not corrected, meaning that Vector did his job. What fake orders? We see two Legionnaires guarding a gate switch, with one of them complaining about it and the other telling him why it needs guarding. Espio attacks them while invisible and lets the heroes in. Vector says they still have to get through the next gate and all the way into the forest. Espio says the entire Goon Force has been ordered to stand just outside this wall, and he literally said Goon Force as an acronym. That's self-aware, I guess. But why would the villains name their grunts such an unintimidating name? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Espio tells Bo to close the gate, and Vector panics because now they got all their heavy forces outside one wall and all the ground troops at the other gate. Espio then pulls out their warp ring, a direct shot to Hideaway, and Vector lampshades the fact that he forgot about that thing. Espio reveals that Eggman's forces have no idea where Robin and his family are, and they lost the trail at Never Lake. Espio says this must mean the king and his family are on the move, being smart, and he's sure that they're planning something and aren't kidnapped. You know, I never got the impression that Robin was a prince or anything. I thought he was just some random thief. The next day, the Chaotix warp far away from Sandblast City because Sandblasters have a bad reputation. Plus it gives Vector a chance to wake up since he's presumably been up all night partying in Mercia. The story ends with Vector saying he trusts the Sandblasters, almost getting shot for his idiocy, and being arbitrarily accused of going to join the Baron by the paranoid Jack, who Shard would be ashamed to coincidentally share his call name with. Why did Vector trust the Sandblasters in the first place after what Sonic once said about them? Wouldn't they be famous for that? It's just there for the sake of a joke, making the comedy forced because it makes no sense for Vector to be that trusting of them when he was paranoid of Julie Su for so long. This issue is by Ian Flynn. It was about some prisoners being liberated from Lord Hood's castle, while Espio finds information on Mighty's sister, who indeed was the Armadillo girl we saw in Sandblast City. Couldn't have been any other Armadillo girl he found info on. At least it kinda makes sense that the password would be password. They should have just gone with finger scanners instead. That kind of technology should exist for the Dark Age Legion, shouldn't it? I guess armadillos are really rare immigrants in Mercia, which would explain why there's only one armadillo in it. And as I expected, none of the Mercian freedom fighters endeared themselves to me as unique three-dimensional characters. I can't even remember any of their names aside from Bo, let alone any personalities. The only thing memorable about them is that Bo tries to talk like Robin while acting like a crappy knockoff of him, and one of them sings unnecessarily, which is at least explained as I'm trying to lighten the mood while understanding the seriousness of the situation. But it still feels like forced comedy and padding that could have never happened. I'm just glad the Chaotix got out of Mercia in just 2 issues.